Hello, my viewer. How are you today? It's nice to meet you again. This is Jane Kariuki, Health Now Show, your health friend. As you're aware, this month of February, we've been talking about love, we've been talking about relationships. For me, I don't focus on a day. I focus on a lifetime or a lifelong relationship. And I've been bringing guests that have been talking about. You remember I brought Penina Wamboy, I brought Daniel Keegan, and to talk about relationships at different levels. And the subject of relationship is quite large. And I thought this same month, I also look at another aspect of relationship, and that is rejection. Have you ever suffered rejection? Have you ever been rejected? Have you ever rejected, or have you rejected someone? I know the word rejection has many meanings. There are people, you can reject people, your body can reject an organ. We've had some people who are transplanted. They have gotten a donor to give them an organ, and it rejects. There are times that babies, mothers who are expectant, depending on the rhesus factor, sometimes the baby, for lack of better word, in very simple term, is rejected by the body, and all those areas of rejection. But I want to narrow it down to issues of relationships. And when we talk about rejection, like I've asked, have you ever been rejected? Have you ever rejected anyone? In a community, in our societies, as we grow as human beings, we are either rejected at some point or we reject other people. But what is this rejection? It is a situation or a feeling that I may not be wanted here. I may not be loved here. I may not be required here. I may not be in the right place. And so I say, rejection can be factual or perceived. Because sometimes we are, yes, rejected in an actual sense, and some other times we perceive that someone so-and-so rejected me. And then this affects our relationships at different levels. They affect, the fact that somebody rejected us, either knowingly or unknowingly. Because some of the words that come out of people, sometimes they hurt us, they make us to either feel rejected or we feel that we reject those people. How does it work? First and foremost, I would like us to look at rejection in 3 levels, 3 or so levels. One, I want us to look at rejection in the family as a concept of relationship. I also want to look at rejection by the community, rejection by the faith-based, sometimes in the church, sometimes, where we worship. That's why I'm calling it faith-based. And the fourth one, how do we reject ourselves? Personal rejection. I want to start with the personal rejection. We have 2 areas of relationships, of 2 ways of looking at relationships. One is intrapersonal relationship. You remember I've addressed it in my past, my previous episode, and we can check it out on our YouTube channel. When we talk about the intrapersonal relationship, is the relationship that you have with yourself. How do you look at yourself? Do you accept yourself the way you are? Do you have your self time, your self-love time, your me time, where you say, this time I just want to have a relationship with me, with Jane. This is my time. This is my me time. And for example, for me, my me time is when I'm doing my routine walking. I would love to walk. I've said this over and over again. I love to walk. So when I'm walking, I have that me time. I walk alone. I love to walk alone because that's the time I am getting my space. I want to have that space. The other thing is because I am an introverted person, as much as I'm talking to you. I am an introverted person, so I love my space. And this, during the spaces, when I'm having my space, my me time, my space is the time I relate with myself. This is the time that I'll reflect. I'll tell myself, did I do it right there? This is the time, if I bashed myself harshly in an area, I would be able to talk to me, to talk to Jane, to dialogue with me. And then from there, I'm telling myself, what else can I do? Did I do it right? Was there something else that I would have done? Would I have done it differently? Did it affect somebody? And that is relating with self. And that is what we call intrapersonal relationship. When you are relating and you're talking to yourself, and not, the way we always say that somebody is having a mental health illness, and that is why they are talking to themselves, they are gesturing with themselves, but not that way. But it can just be inner communication, not necessarily verbal. It can be inner communication in your thoughts. And in that time, you're even expressing yourself, the gestures in terms of your facial expressions and all that. And that is the time that you're relating with yourself. That is the time you also gauge, have I been rejected by somebody? Did I contribute to that rejection? Remember I said it's either factual or perceived. So in your space, you're asking yourself, have I rejected other people? Or have I felt rejected in a situation? Sometimes the self-sabotage, the imposter syndrome, that I'm not good enough, comes. But when you're having your time, you'll be able to see, is it that I'm being rejected? Is it factual, or is it that I am just perceiving it? Both ways, we need to look into it. So the intrapersonal, it is that relationship. And that will guide you as to whether you're feeling rejected or you're assuming you're being rejected. And then from there, how do you move forward? That is the intrapersonal. We go to the interpersonal. The interpersonal is what is the level that all of us, we interact with as human beings. We talk to each other, we talk to crowds, we talk to audiences, we talk to congregations, we talk to colleagues, we talk to our constituencies, for those that probably are in politics. We talk, we communicate. And as we all know, communication is two ways. I talk to you, you respond, and it can be verbal, it can be non-verbal, it can be expressions, gestures, and all that. And all these will tell me whether you are appreciating me on what I'm saying or you are rejecting me from the way you are talking to me. So the interpersonal brings a lot of issues. And that is where many people may feel rejected as they interact with friends, family, and relatives. So when we talk about the level of personal and the interpersonal relationship, many people have their relationships affected negatively because of the way they perceive that relationship. For example, if I entered into a room and probably I had walked for long distances, and probably sometimes the shoes may smell, or somebody visits you, and after they have entered, probably they remove the shoes, and then their feet are smelly for one reason or other. Sometimes it may be a sickness, sometimes it may be probably walking long distances. And then when they enter your house, you make a face that is telling you there's something coming out of you that I reject. That person will read it from your face. We always say that you cannot not respond. Don't know whether that is good grammar, but somehow you will respond unknowingly by the way you express yourself. If that person notices that, they may be able to interpret that you have rejected me. But in the real sense, you may not have rejected the person. You may just have smelt that, bad smell or odor. You've just responded normally, but the interpretation on the person feels that you are rejected. And they may say, I'll never visit Jane again. I'll never visit Joseph again. I'll never go to their home. I'll never be near them because they have rejected me. They don't appreciate me. So, and that's why I said it can be perceived or factual. So the interpersonal relationship can either be with a group. Sometimes you may want to join a chama, but the people there, they may feel like you are either higher than them or you are lower than them. You are not at their level. And then they say, so and so, we don't want Jane to be in our group. We don't want her to be there because yeye hatakuwa akiafford, tukisema tutatoa pesa kiasi fulani, or if we are going to contribute this amount of money, she may not be able to afford that amount of money. It has happened to me at some point that I would want to be in a group, and then they say, for us, for the group that we are, we would want to contribute this amount of money. And Jane says, I'm not able to contribute that amount of money. And then the people say, then we want people who can contribute this amount of money. So that fact that they have put some limits also makes somebody to feel rejected. I want to go to the second one, the family. Family relationships can be very tricky. We know we relate with our parents. As parents like I will relate with my children, my husband. At places of work, I'll also relate, and some people will see me more as a mother than like probably because of the age. But when we go down to looking at, let's say, the nuclear family, the extended family, there are those levels of relationship. And rejection can come in there very subtle, very, very discreet, very, very hidden. But the person going through it may be so manifested, it may be so amplified that the person feels alone. One of the things that make people in the families, and especially children, to feel rejected is comparison. One, there may be a child who is doing very well in school or is academically endowed. The other one is not. And then when these two are, the parents are looking at them, one, they will kind of be positive, warmth, positive towards them, the way they talk to them, the way they give them responsibilities. They'll keep on saying, so-and-so is able to do this, so-and-so is able to do the other. But the other one is just quiet and wondering, where do I belong? They feel rejected. Comparison is a killer. It's something that makes children, especially, even adults, but if I am talking about and concentrating first on the children, they feel rejected. There was this story of a mother who was having two daughters. one of the daughters alikuwa anamuita darling. The other one anamuita jina yake. For example, anamuita Alice and the other one darling. So, and these two girls, they knew their mother preferred the one they are calling darling. And then as children, you know, they're sisters, they're just in the house and all that. So one day they were in the bedroom, and then one of the daughters started crying. So the mother thought it was darling, the girl that she preferred. And then she said, darling, darling, why are you crying? Then it was not darling who was crying. It was the other. So she came out and said, it is not darling, it is me. So you can imagine, she already knows that the name darling, which endears this girl to the mother, is for this other one. But her, she came out saying, it is not darling, it is me. That is a point of creating rejection in that child. Because even as the child grows up, even as that daughter was growing up, the daughter will always be saying, I am second best. I am not the first. I am here and my sister is here. When she gets into the community, when she gets into schools, when she gets into workplaces, when she gets into interactions even with the opposite gender, she will always be feeling that I am lesser. I'm lesser than other people, because it is started in the family. Comparison. It is a very factual area that we need to look into it, and it affects relationship. This girl, when she grows up, she gets into a marriage, she gets into a family, she'll be looking at it and telling, you know, like she may not communicate, but if somebody does anything without even knowing that they're hurting her, she will feel hurt. And she may not be able to have strong and healthy relationship with the spouse, with the children, and with other people. Some people in the families have some conditions, some diseases that make them not to perform probably in areas of work, in areas of academics, and we are endowed differently. And then these children, the others are doing very well in education, so they are preferred more. They are given all the facilities. I was talking to one parent, and that was after doing some therapy sessions with the daughter. And the daughter was saying that when we were growing up, we were well able. But for me, when I would get sick, I would be told to go to a public hospital. And I'm not saying public hospitals are bad. Public hospitals actually have the best doctors. I know that. But now for this girl, she was comparing herself. So the sister would be, when she would get sick, she would be actually be taken to hospital and taken to a private hospital. According to her, now this gesture of the child, of the sister being taken to a private hospital was affecting her. She was like, for her, she's not taken, she's told to go on her own, but for the sister is usually taken. So she was like, I am not good enough to my parents. I am not their best. And that, again, as I talked about comparison, the feelings of inadequacy start setting in to this young girl. So those are some of the things. And then still, I think parents, we really have quite a lot. I was still talking with another mother, and I think mothers, we need to work on ourselves. I'm one of them. And we met with her, and she was carrying some goodies, some sausages and all that. And she said one of the one of the daughters, again, incidentally, most of those that I've talked to have daughters, that one of the daughters does not take sausages. So then I asked her, what did you buy for this other one? She said, since she doesn't take sausages and I had money for the sausages, I didn't see myself buying, the need of buying her anything else. Then I asked her, what you do probably next time is asking her what she'd like you to buy for her. Just imagine now this child, and children, when they see you have brought the sister this, they would also want that. And even if they are not eating that particular thing, then you can ask them what else they would like to eat. And then, because you want to build their self-worth, their self-confidence, their self-esteem, because those are some of the things that affect these children. And you start seeing that because of that comparison, some of them regress to stages where they have already passed. Like, for example, they can start bedwetting, and they had already stopped that because psychologically they're affected from the family. And then that bedwetting that was not there, the child had already stopped, then makes even the family or the parents to reject her more or to reject him more. They will be, for example, they'll be told, every day you want your sheets or your bed sheets to be cleaned and to be what? Take them out, and probably some languages like that one. And then the self-esteem goes down to their feet. That is a pointer. That is an area of rejection. Still in the families, there's children with special needs, children with some disabilities. And then they may not be able to do as well as the others. These are children that may be going through a lot of, self-searching and asking themselves, why am I being treated like this? Families. There are other issues of family. For example, a mother or a family may be getting children like their daughters, females. And the parents may, either the father or the mother, because either it can happen to anybody, they want another gender. And then you find that you are not getting the gender that they want. And I give my own example. I have two daughters. And when they were small, my father-in-law, and I said again, rejection may be perceived or factual. And the person saying something may not be meaning to hurt you or to reject you, but you feel it yourself because it is in you. Because sometimes meanings are not in words. They are not in words, they are in people. Because the way I perceive it, the way I interpret it. So what happened is that when my daughters were small, we'd go to visit in the village where we are married. And then we are outside there, we are probably eating or just seated and talking. And then my daughters are there. Then he would tell me, now that umepata kanyanya is not a tomato. Kanyanya is the in-law, because now I had named my mother-in-law and I had also named my mom. So he would tell me, now that you have gotten two daughters, you've named your mothers, the two mothers, I also want to be named, by the way. And then I'm telling myself, I'm asking myself, aren't these children, as far as I'm concerned, my daughters are my children. They are my babies. I love them. And there's nothing, I wouldn't even compare them. If God gives me a boy, that is okay at that time. Now I'm not. I think I'm, I would say like Sarah sometimes. But all the same, so he would keep on saying that anytime I would go home, he would tell me, now uko na kanyanya, uko na the two the two mothers, can you now bring, give us a boy? And it would hurt me. I would feel, kwani I'm not good enough, kwani my daughters are not. And then my husband would just tell me, these are our babies, these are our girls. And in fact, he would say, my girls are my boys. For me, I'm looking at them as my babies, are my children. That thing I didn't know, it was so deeply in him. And his desire was for me to get a son, a grandson. And for me, I've gotten my two daughters and I'm happy with them. And my husband is happy with them. So the children grew. I'm not bringing a boy. And we stayed. In 2008, my husband went to US to study. And he would send some money. I'll change it, from the dollar to the Kenya shillings, and then I would take to the village. That time we didn't have M-Pesa. So I would go like on a Saturday, or sometimes if I get somebody to send, the way people would send through the poster and all that, I would send. So this one time, the message was sent that I should not send the money. When the money comes, I go to the village. I take the money myself. I'm married in in the eastern region of Kenya. So I was told to go. So this one Saturday, we gathered ourselves with my daughter and we went very early in the morning, and we were there by 10. And we were prepared food and we ate. So we were outside, we were seated outside. Then after eating, my father-in-law went inside the house and then called my mother-in-law. And then my mother-in-law was told to tell me to go in the house. So I got into the house. I was told to sit there. So my father-in-law is seated here, my mother-in-law is seated here. And then my father-in-law said, now that you have daughters, now mind you, that time I'm going with my daughter who is big. She had even finished Form 4. She's in college now. So then, so my daughter was left outside. So I am inside there. So my father-in-law said, now the daughters are grown up. I would want a grandson. And mind you, I've said my husband was away, was all the way in America. That hit me because I recalled the past when I was taking it as a joke that he wanted a grandson. But now this time it became so serious that he has told me to come all the way from Kiambu, where I stay, to all the way eastern to go and be told about a son, a grandson. And my husband, for me, I'm telling myself, my husband is not in the country. Even if I wanted to get a baby, for me, I would want a baby in the family. And I've not gotten a son for all this time. But now he was very serious. Now I am in a kamukuji. I'm carpeted to get a son, a grandson. And he told me I would want a grandson. I felt rejected. I felt I am not wanted. And I'm a daughter-in-law. I was feeling, now hawa watu hawanipendi kwa sababu I've not given them a grandson. So it was a Saturday. So my husband used to call me every Saturday from around 9. So by that time we had already gotten home. So he called. So I was feeling so bad and so bad and so bad and so bad and so low. So when he called, I said, by the way, tulitoka nyumbani leo, tulikuwa tumeenda, but I'm being asked to get a baby boy. So it's like, I'm feeling so bad. I don't know what to do and what to say. I'm like now projecting my anger, my rejection to my husband, who is so many miles, kilometers and kilometers and miles away from Kenya. So he just told me, those people, their culture is they would want to get a grandson. But for me, it was affecting me. So that kind of a thing, they may not mean bad. And I know they don't mean any bad. They mean so well for me, and they meant so well for me. But the way they communicate, the way they talk to me, the way they talked to me that time, I felt I am not good enough because I've not gotten a son. And that can be a point of even breaking the relationship. Thank God for me, I was so strong. I decided it's not going to affect me because the person who determines whether I'll get a son or not is my husband. That's what I was telling myself. So for me, I am safe. As much as I'm the one being attacked, I still said I would still go on and soldier on. So sometimes it becomes very difficult. We don't know how to deal with those kind of things in the family, extended family, the nuclear family. You are not probably working and you are expected to work. You are expected to produce this and you are not being able to produce at the level or even to perform at the level that the expectations are. Because sometimes rejection will come from the expectations. I was in a place another time. I was listening to a preacher who was talking to us, and he was telling us sometimes the reason why many people get rejected, it was a wedding. Why many people get rejected is because of the expectation bar. And he was telling us, if you would want peace, manage your expectations. And I would say to my viewer, manage your expectations. Sometimes you may expect too much. And he was advising us, and I really carried that. He was advising us, if you are either in a marriage, in a family, or it is a young man or a young lady that are getting married, set a bar in a lower, expectation bar in a lower level. So that when this person passes that bar, it will be happy moments, because you'll say they have, we always say, achieved the expectation, exceeded expectations, excellent and all that. So this time, when you set them lower, when this person goes up, it becomes better for both of you, because it will be, I have achieved this, I am happy this person did this. But sometimes when we put very high ones, the person who is setting the bar may feel you didn't get to the level that they wanted. So rejection sets in so much that it affects the relationship, because they will have no voice. They will not be able ever to say anything, because when they say something, somebody is telling them, that is not good. Again, there are times when you talk and then somebody tells you in front of people, that is not good. That is not the point. That point is not good. And then that reduces you to a level that you will not voice out anything that you'd like to share. There's something that I forgot about, I would want to bring back. The time I was talking about interpersonal relationship. I want to bring it here in terms of how somebody looks. How your presentation, how you present yourself to people, how you relate with people, how your body image is. Most of the time, we have seen even sometimes in cyberbullying, even in social media, people are, body shaming. Most of the time, the people who are body shamed are sometimes people with like a big body. But I've always asked myself, because I've suffered body shaming now for a smaller body. Right now, I am okay. Now I'm big. There was a time I was quite smaller. I was quite small. And that time I have 2 babies. I have 2 daughters. I am a mother of 2, and I'm very, very small. In fact, at some point, when I was expecting my second born, I was 3 months pregnant and I was 45 kgs. I was quite small, and of course that was worrying, and I was given intervention so that I can add some weight. But that time, when I am this small, not by choice, but I would feel like I don't even want to go and visit people. Because sometimes I have a friend who used to see me and tell me, you are so thin, kuja kwetu tukupikie ukule. You know that statement, I am so thin. So what is it saying? That I am that small, that thin, kwa sababu at our place hakuna chakula. There is no food. Kuja kwetu nikupikie. And she could be so serious. And she's telling me all that. Then I would say it's not about food. But that affected me. So some words that we give in our interpersonal relationship, they affect us. One time, this time when I'm this small, I'm working. We went for a trip, and we are in a pooled transport. Then the vehicle ikaja. Then one of the ladies who was a bit big akaniambia, Jane, because you are small, come and sit on me. I felt degraded. The rest of the people that we were with, in charge of offices, and then I'm being told I sit on somebody because, and the reason why, because I am small. Kuja nikushike. It made me feel that I don't belong. I don't belong there. Then we went to that meeting. In the morning, one of my colleagues has told me to sit on her. Then, as we went out in the field, we were going back about our businesses, and then we were waiting to go to a public baraza. And then I found 2 men. They were studying, and one of them called me and told me, come and say hello to us. So I walked towards them. And as I was walking towards them, one of them said that I can see that you love your children very much. And I can also see that you have a ring on your finger and that you are married. And again, that is him talking. I am not talking, and I'm just walking towards them. That I can see a ring on your finger. I also know, and it's not somebody I know. You have children, and you love your children so much. That is why you don't eat much, and that is why you are thin. At that point, I've gotten to where they were. So since he's the one who was talking and he had told me to go and say hello to them, I greeted him. After greeting him, I held him with this other hand. And then I greeted the other one and the other one. Then I looked back to him and I told him, I am not thin. I am slim by choice. It wasn't by choice, but I was hurting. Because that time, I'm trying every rule in the book to eat anything. I was saying I want to eat avocados, I want to eat bread, I want to eat what, so that I can put on weight because of the way I'm body shamed. Yule aliniambia ni bebe, huyu mwingine ananiambia that. Later on, this man, I think he forgot what he had told me. So during the day, I never talked to him again, but he kept on saying, I'm sorry, because he saw the way I reacted. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Later on, he visited one of the offices near where I was working. And then he found me with some ladies who were bigger. Then akawaambia, now look at this one. You people, you are big. I think he really wanted to really body shame. You are big. If one of you got sick, I'll call the whole village so that they can carry you to the hospital. But for this one, I can lift her like this and take her to hospital or namuingiza kwa gari. I remembered this is the same person who was still telling me that. And now he's following it up like, mimi sasa I'm so light, I can be carried by one person to the car to be taken to the hospital. Those are some of the points that whether the person knows or they don't know, they affect us. Interpersonal relationship, I've talked about the family. Let us go to the churches and to the faith-based. That sometimes somebody may be given a leadership position, and you probably was wishing that you be given that position that somebody else is given. But you ask yourself, probably you are telling yourself, okay, jipima, nasema, I am better than that person because I have this. But nobody notices you. Nobody notices what you do. One time, I was serving in a church, not where I am now, but I was in another church. And then I was doing my best, according to me, doing my best, serving in the department that I was given. I am giving myself, I am going for practice, I'm reading, I'm researching, I am helping the people that I'm working with so that we can be better. Then one time, I was called by one of the pastors. And then akaniambia, we would want you to stop serving in this department kwa sababu hauna mchwa. So I actually felt deflated. I felt, you mean all my effort, or whatever I am doing, I am not offering anything. I am not adding value. I started evaluating myself. I actually, after some time, moved from that church to another one, to where I am now, where I have been now for quite a while. But I felt rejected. So rejection, it's about what sometimes people will say and how we receive it. And it can really be devastating. It affects our self-esteem. As I said, we can get even to the feet. So different scenarios, even in our offices where we work, for those who work in offices, they get to a point that you have tried this, you have done this, and you can watch my the episode I talked about stress and how it affects us in the workplaces. Sometimes it really affects this person because where they wanted to be, there are hindrances, and they interpret that one as rejection. We've looked at the family. We've looked at the interpersonal relationship, extended family. Let us look at the community. How does the community reject us? Sometimes it's the way they perceive our families. They will say, in that family, wanakuwaga na mental illness, ni magurukaga, wanakuwaga wazimu. All those ones, wanakuwaga na hizo diseases kwa sababu ya pale wametoka or where they are coming from. Then the community, all this like a disease. Sometimes those children with disabilities, sometimes they suffer a lot of stigma, and stigma brings about that rejection, that you don't want to interact with people. People don't want to interact with you. We all remember what happened during COVID. Of course, we had our masks, but if you had somebody had COVID, of course, we were all trying to prevent ourselves. But it was like we are keeping our distance. Of course, we were keeping our distances, but at the same time, you feel the person would still feel very, very alone, very, very rejected, because that is one of the signs of internally of rejection. You feel, I'm rejected, I am alone, nobody loves me, nobody cares for me. But I would like to say this at this point. The self-talk I talked about, the me time, the self-care, the self-love. Like times we talk about now the Valentine's Day. People, Like they say, do you have a boyfriend? There are even songs like that. Do you have somebody? Do you have somebody? And some people, because they don't have somebody, they become alone. They feel lonely. They feel that I'm not as good as so-and-so. So-and-so has a boyfriend. So-and-so has a friend. So-and-so is, is going about their business well. And for me, I'm alone. So those are some of the things that make us feel rejected. And when one is rejected, there is a tendency of rejecting others, so that you don't get to repeat or to get a repeat of the rejection that you got. One thing that is very common with somebody who is rejected, probably you tried a business. You were in a business, partnership with somebody. And then probably the business failed. Contribution in terms of time, resources, of course, time is a resource. You felt that you are not connecting and the business did not work. So when it failed, there is that kind of saying, I am the one who contributed that. And then I'll never start another business. I'll never be in a business again. And that makes you to retard, makes you not to feel like you'd want to continue on, you'd want to go on, you'd want to work, you'd want to start a business. If it's a relationship, we have seen so many people, and especially young people, I'm talking to you today. You might have been in a relationship that has gone sometimes even almost to the church the day of the wedding. Everything else has been done. Everything else has been prepared. And then you are almost going to the church to get married. The wedding day. Probably a week before. One of the parties, either the man or the lady, just decide, no. We've had many people going back on their promises of getting to marry somebody. They have gone through the proposals. They've gone through the dowry, if it is in Africa. They've done everything. They have had relationships with the in-laws. They have done everything. They have invited people. But the last day, the person said, I think I'm not sure. And then the wedding is called off. What devastation. It is a rejection that it will take a lot of effort for this person to be able to start another relationship, because they will have a lot of fear. They'll keep on saying, I am not going to start again. I will be rejected again. And I cannot be a good wife. I cannot be a good husband. What do I need to do? You become paranoid in so many things, in so many ways, because your heart, you got rejected. And then you now build walls, very high walls. And we'll come to look at the signs that shows that you are suffering rejection. You are rejecting people, or you are being rejected. So at this time, you build very high walls and say, I will never try it again. The word never. I will never try it again. I tried and failed. And then when you see somebody is coming, and probably it's a marriage relationship that you are in, you are getting into, or somebody else admires you, wants to start a relationship or a family with you, then because of the past one that failed and you're rejected at the point where you are almost getting married, then you say you reject the person even before. You see signs of like they want to be positive, they want to be close to you, and then you tell yourself, apana. That makes you to be retarded. Because your self-esteem, I'll repeat this, self-esteem is in your feet, down there, because you're feeling, I'm not good enough. Why was I rejected? What did I not do, or what did I do? And that brings a lot of pain in this person. So rejection, factual or perceived, can retard, can prevent us, can hinder us from getting to where we need to get to. At all spheres of our lives, rejection is an area or is a concept that we need to be very keen about, because in this life we cannot live like we are enjoying everything, and that would be our desire. That would be everybody's desire. I want to be a perfect person. You can never be a perfect person. I want to relate with everybody very well. It is not possible because there are no photocopies. They are all originals with their own personalities and different views and perspectives of things. So that the rejection can come at any level. But when it comes, what do we need to do? And this one, we'll pick it up. In our next episode, we want to ask ourselves, what are some of the red flags that we look into, that we watch out to see whether it is rejection, factual or perceived, and how can we be able to manage it? How can we be able to live with other people, different levels of people, different ages of people, different communities? Sometimes people will say, oh, these are racist, these are tribalists. And then you say, when something is being said, you say, these people from this side, they do this. So you feel if you're in a company of those people from that region, and I'm not mentioning any region, if you're in that region and you are alone, you may feel like you don't belong. You are not being accepted. But what is it that is going on in your mind that tells you, I am not accepted? Even when they may be accepting you, but for you, because of the lenses that you're having, the glasses that you're looking at them, the lenses that you are giving them that don't disturb. The sign of like, don't disturb, don't cross this line. I have elected this. When we look at the Bible, as I come to conclude this first part, in Joshua chapter 6, it talks about Jericho, that it was a fortified city. No one was going out and nobody was coming in because of the way it was so strongly fortified, so strongly done, that there was that nobody was coming in and nobody was going out. But do you know, when Joshua was marching with the Israelites, after 7 days, the 7th day, they were ordered by God, they were instructed by God, shout, sing, and the walls will come down. We'll look at how do we bring the walls of rejection down. How can we deal with rejection? I'll leave you with that scripture, that we can be able to do it, but how do we do it? And until next time, keep it Health Now Show. Follow us on our Facebook, our YouTube, our IG, Instagram, and subscribe, follow us, and be with us. And for any reason, if you are there, you have gone through rejection, this time of probably the month of love, and you feel, I would need to share so that it can also help somebody. You are saying, Jane, I've talked, you've touched me, you've said something, and I need to start working on this. I would like to share mine. I would request you. You may not be able to come to studio, but you can get into our YouTube comment section. Comment on that. Share with us what you have gone through. It will help somebody else. It will make somebody else feel, I'm not alone. Rejection is a killer of dreams, is a killer of goals and ambitions, visions, and it keeps you retarded. And until next time, Health Now Show, your health friend. God bless you. See you next time. Bye.
you.